All right, 5A. The first one that I had a question on was 28. 28 said, you determine which typical diet, you want to determine the typical dietary habits of students at a college. Which of the following would make the best sample and why? Also explain which each of the others would not make a good sample. Students in a single dormitory. Dormitory would be a selection bias because that's not really all the students at that college. Students majoring public health, that would be also selection bias. Those are people who are perhaps aware a little bit more about health issues and dietary issues. Students who participate in intercollegiate sports, those folks are real concerned about being fit and in shape, so they will probably have a special diet. Students enrolled in a required mathematics class. Now those tend to be a separate special class, but there's not as much to do with their health with taking mathematics, although there may be a lifestyle with mathematicians that's different than the rest. But it doesn't. It should have a cross section of all students because it's a required math class, and so I would have to go with the required math class because it has a cross section of all students. It's required, so all students take it, and it doesn't have some kind of health issues, and it doesn't pick on just the people in dorms or something like that. Next one, 38. 38, we're supposed to determine whether the following studies are observational experiments. If it's experiment, identify the control groups, discuss double blinding, and all that. Breast cancer study began by asking 25,000 some hundred women questions about how they spent their leisure time. The health of these women was tracked over the next 15 years. Those women who said they exercised regularly were found to have lower incidence of breast cancer. So that one, there is no treatment, although they just track them, but they have just observed, and so this was an observational study. And is it a case control study? No. And if so, identify the cases and the controls. Nope. So it's just an observational. Next one, 39. Same directions. A double-blind drug versus placebo study. So that's experiment. And we're supposed to say, if the study is an experiment, identify the control group and the treatment group. Control group is the one who got the drug. The treatment group, the control group is the one who got the placebo. The treatment group got the drug. Demonstrated the effectiveness of ginkgo biloba extract. The ginkgo treatment improved the condition of all tendinitis patients. Okay, and that was actually a study. So there is this one on that. So we did what we did. It's an experiment, and we have the control group and the treatment group. Control group got the placebo, treatment got the ginkgo. Okay, that was 39. Next is 47. Margin of error. Polls conducted the day of the election in the state. There are only two candidates running. The polls show 53% of the voters surveyed favored the Republican with a margin of error of plus or minus 2.5%. And should the Republicans plan on a victory party? So if it's 2.5, according to the poll, that would go somewhere between, confidence interval would be 50.5, taking 2.5 off of 53. Adding it on would go to 55.5. And so in either case, they would have the majority, so they could go ahead and start planning their party based on the poll. 51. Of course, this is a 95% there, so there'd be a 5% chance that they didn't win, but it looks pretty good for them. 51. Consider the results of an experiment designed to measure the efficacy of a new drug. The new drug was given to the participants in a treatment group, and the placebo was given to the control group. Discover whether there is evidence that the treatment was effective. 70% of those in the treatment group showed improvement, and was it 51? Yes, and 30% of the placebo group showed improvement. So the placebo group showed improvement, but the treatment group showed a greater percentage, so yes, there is evidence of the efficacy. Okay, because the 70 is so much greater than 30%. Okay, next one is 53. In 53, 90% of the treatment group showed improvement, 50% of the placebo group showed improvement. So 90 is so much greater than 50 that you would have to say there is evidence. And then we go to 55. A study at the Center for AIDS and STDs at the University of Washington tracked the survival rates of 17,517 asymptomatic North American patients with HIV who started drug therapy at different points in the progression of the infection. It was discovered the asymptomatic patients who postponed antiretroviral treatment until their disease was more advanced faced a higher risk of dying than those who initiated the drug treatment earlier. Identify the population. Those folks with, let's see, HIV, asymptomatic HIV patients. That's the first thing. The asymptomatic HIV patients. Describe the sample. And it was B. 1,700, 517 people like that had that. Identify the type of study. It's C. It was a experiment because they had a control group and a treatment group, and discuss the additional facts that you would like to know before you believe the study or acted on the results of the study. They said it was greater risk of dying, but how much greater? I would love to know the actual statistics on that. If it was only a marginal, then maybe we really don't think that the treatment is good. Is there side effects to the drug? And there's all kinds of things you could ask about that. Okay? 58. In surveys of more than 4,000 households, Pew Research Cancer said the young adults have done a better job at shedding their debt. Median debt of the adults of the 18 to 35 did better than the over 35. The median debt for the young adults fell 29% compared to 8% reduction in the older adults. And so the population seems to be the 18 to 35 and the over 35. Great Recession was mostly in the U.S., so probably U.S. citizens. For the control group, we would assume that, but that's not good to be doing that. B. Describe the sample. They did 4,000 households. We don't know how they picked the household, so we don't know whether it's random, a cluster, convenient, so we don't know how good that sample is. C, identify the type of study. It's observational. And then D, I already said what I would like to know is how did they pick those people, and how did they measure how much debt was shed? Okay, what does that mean? 68. 68, let's see, what was that one? The last one we did in class, but that's all right. Generating and not random numbers. Use a calculator or Excel set to generate random numbers. 10 numbers between 0 and 1. Between 0 and 10. 10 and 2, okay. So maybe I need to show you how to do that. Okay, so I'll pull out my calculator. Both on the calculator and the computer there's a thing called random, RAND. So I'm going to push math, probability, and the first one is RAND. And if I pick that and just press enter, it'll give me decimal numbers between 0 and 1. So if I just keep pressing enter, I get 10 different numbers. If I want them between 0 and 10, I would have to take RAND times 10, and then I get them between 0 and 10. If I want them between 1 and 2, I would take RAND, which goes from 0 to 1, and just add 1. Now I'll get between 1 and 2. And if I got to get between 10 and 20, I would do RAND times 10, because between 10 and 20 is 10. But the lowest is 10, so I'm going to go plus 10. And now I'll get between 10 and 20. Okay? On the computer, on the spreadsheet, it's you can do equals RAND. And if you put just parentheses like that, I think that's all it takes, and then you just keep hitting enter or modifying your spreadsheet or command equal or whatever, control equal, something like that, and it'll keep generating new numbers. And that's it. Okay.